Harriet Beecher Stowe was a novelist, poet, short story writer, and a great civil rights and anti-slavery advocate in the 19th century. On June 14, 1811, she was born to a Calvinist family of reformers that was interested in education, abolition, and women's rights issues. In her later life, she married Calvin Ellis Stowe and eventually had 7 children with him. When Harriet started writing again in 1852, she was at the start of a great literary career for the remainder of her lifetime.
Fannie Lou Hamer is best known as a civil rights activist. At the age of 12, Fannie had to leave her education to support her struggling family. Also, against her will, she was sterilized by a white doctor due to a state plan to decrease the number of poor blacks. Later on, she met her husband, Perry Hamer. Coming from a Catholic background, Hamer had a view of morals and ethics that she wanted to see in her world, but blacks were being oppressed everywhere. Fannie decided to act against racial and gender discrimination.
Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote many books and was an avid supporter of the anti-slavery movement over her lifetime. Books were an ideal source to spread various controversial ideas of the time. However, in 1852, civil rights and equality for colored people were about to improve due to the publication of Uncle Tom's Cabin, which introduced an anti-slavery moral to the country. The Northerners thought it to be an eye-opening novel to the injustice happening in the South. The Southerners, however, claimed that the book was a misinterpretation of the reality. Harriet continued her reform and went on a tour of Europe to promote her book and a peaceful and fast end to slavery. In fact, Uncle Tom's Cabin would continue to be one of the crucial references during the anti-slavery movement. Some historians say that the disagreement over slavery brought to light by Stowe is one of the major causes of the Civil War, which would eventually bring an end to slavery.
In 1962, Fannie Lou Hamer attempted to register to vote, but because of her skin color was threatened with violence and lost her job. In 1963, Fannie worked setting up voter registration drives to support blacks' right to vote for SNCC. With other reformers, Hamer started the MFDP, which worked to gain rights for African Americans and testified against the Credentials Committee of the Democratic Party. Hamer failed in her run for Congress in 1965, but this did not slow her down. She continued with the FFC in 1969, a nonprofit corporation that helped underprivileged families to support themselves. In 1971, Fannie became a member of the Policy Council of the NWPC, who helped to recruit and train women running for political offices. Fannie's work continued and led to voting rights, job opportunities, African American political offices, and higher standards for the generations to come. Harriet Beecher Stowe in the 19th century provided a major step in the reform for equality for all races by spreading anti-slavery ideas. She was advocating for a quick and peaceful end to slavery, but her book became a significant influence into the cause that would ultimately lead to the start to the American Civil War. By the start of the 20th century, the era of Fannie Lou Hamer, slavery was gone, but the battle for equality was not over. Fannie Lou Hamer spent her lifetime continuing to pursue equality for all. As Fannie Lou Hamer once said, "Nobody's free until everybody's free." If the reformers of our day continue the work of Fannie Lou Hamer and Harriet Beecher Stowe, we might get there.